The number one reason that most relationships that break down end up doing that is because of ambiguity. Most of the first reasons that come to mind when you're asked why a relationship that failed ended up doing that is because of one person or another being ambiguous about things in the relationship that they might want or need. Most people you have a relationship with would be happy to meet your needs if they knew what those were. And the healthiest thing for solving that problem in almost every situation is disclosing what your desires within the relationship are. Um, the disclosure of that doesn't have to be explicit in order for it to be effective. It just has to carry no ambiguity, meaning that it has to be stated in a way that the person you're telling it to understands it fully. Here's a situation that many of us are likely to fall into. My mother asked me, "Why don't you call me now and again?" I obliged. The phone call clearly makes her very happy, and I was happy to believe that I was ultimately contributing to what I saw as our relationship. Soon, however, my view changed. I was performing a task for the sake of her being happy, and while there was nothing wrong with that, my connection with her was the same as before I started calling her on a regular basis. I didn't want to continue spending my time doing a task that didn't help to strengthen my connection with my mom. Therefore, I stopped calling her out of obligation. If you want to strengthen the relationship that you have with someone in your life, it's important that you make that desire clear. Otherwise, asking for something like regular phone calls makes it difficult for that person to understand what you want. So their effort, it becomes really hard for them to connect the effort that they're putting in to your request with the result of actually making your relationship better. If you have a hard time connecting your effort with the result you want in several relationships of yours, you probably also, like most people, have a lack of social clarity. And without social clarity, you may be wasting a great deal of your effort in social life. Social clarity calls for social logic, which is evidence-based conviction in dealing with others. After all, it becomes a lot easier to convince yourself and those around you um, of the worth of changing your behavior if there are tangible outcomes that you'd like to see instead of, if there are tangible outcomes you'd like to see, specific ways that your relationship can be better. Relationships end up failing without logic, and logic fails without arguments. Logic involves statements, premises rather, and conclusion. However, if your statements talk about connections, while the premises are based on relations, the conclusion on any relationship of yours would be totally confusing. These things don't work well together without an unambiguous naming system. Um, an unambiguous naming system is called nomenclature. If you want to be an expert in any field, you must first learn of its nomenclature. That's its naming system. And every field that exists has nomenclature in it. By using its nomenclature, you're far more powerful when you talk about various topics in the field. You can be completely clear on them. And if you want to become an expert in social life, you need to understand the nomenclature for social life. Without its social logic, you can't achieve social clarity, which is exactly what you need to better manage your social life. So, there already exists a nomenclature like this, and it only began existing in 2017 with the publishing of a book, and that nomenclature is called Thuma slang. Social clarity is exactly the reason why Sumo slang is something everybody needs to have. Before we take a closer look at it, let's think about this. So, over 100 millenniums ago, early humans discovered a way to have widespread control of fire. It was the first in a long sequence of many steps in the technological evolution of human beings. Our technological advance evolved through three stages. First, there was the tool, something very early humans began using. Then the machine, as tools got more complex. And then there's where we're at now, which is the automation, with machines operating independently of human input for the most part. They're all about conservation of human energy, especially automation, but really all of them. Something that doing with a human body alone would be really difficult is something that we can do with very little input, if any at all, with technology. Sumo slang is the same thing, but for social life. A tool is an object that humans use to extend the use of their energy, their personal force to do some work. Involving energy, work is done when a force is applied to an object through a distance. A machine or a mechanical device is a mechanical structure that uses power to apply force and control movement to perform an intended action. Although the skill is invested in the gadget instead of the person who uses it, humans also use the machine to extend the further use of their energy. The automation is technology by which a process is performed with minimal human assistance. In the final stage of technological advancement, humans take advantage of automation to scale up the use of their energy. One example is one click is all you need to access countless documents around the world. The widespread control of fire, and circling back to this, of the tool, of the machine, and of automation gives us more energy and thus more power. But look at the United States, or China, or really any big country. A nation with more energy and more power doesn't have citizens who know how to treat one another better than those in any other place around the world. That's why technology can't be what it is to what we use to bring humanity beyond level 1.0. So the thing that it would take to bring humanity to a farther level where humans know how to treat one another would require the widespread use of it, and it would have to give residents of adopting the nation the knowledge, the power to treat one another at another better at scale. So in the last several years, myself and my good friend Jerison, and someone who I watched a 3-hour series of named Ifani Onyekaba, and someone who I know named John Kandeloff, and plenty of other people, including like college professors and college students, have through personal experience given us enough data to conclude that this force, this tool that would allow humans to become more powerful in social life is called sumo slang. And that's what it will take to bring humanity from the level it's at now to humanity level 2.0. The answer to how exactly sumo slang can do that is something that I and the people who I've just mentioned earlier discuss a lot. And it's what my podcast, The Last Clueless Teenager, is all about.